be committed that I'm going to go ahead and record this meeting and then share it with those AGs who were not able to join us. So just a heads up that I am recording the meeting. So again, welcome. Appreciate all of you being here. And as I started to say, I'm going to honor your time. I have an agenda tonight, which I've shared with you. If we get done early, that's great. But I will not keep you 1 minute past 8 o'clock. That is my pledge. So let's go ahead and get started. So our agenda for tonight's meeting, I'm going to share with you folks a few district updates, and then we're going to talk about some upcoming meetings, the format and the content. I want to make sure that I am providing you folks with what you need. So I want to talk about the meeting format and content going forward so that you can give me your thoughts and ideas for what would be most effective and useful for you. And then we'll have an open mic, which means that if you folks want to share ideas, challenges, exciting developments, really happy to hear from you. Or if you want to brainstorm with one another, I'm happy to have that conversation occur. So this is an opportunity to have that happen. And then we'll just do a quick wrap up. So that is the agenda for this evening. So I am going to start with district updates, and I wanted to start with talking to you a little bit about what I shared with the club presidents when we had our first club president meeting earlier this month. First off, as you all know, and as Jason surely knows, because I've done a presentation already to a club that he attended, we are embarking on a social media initiative in the district, and we've hired a social media consultant to assist us with this. The reason for this is because our membership has dipped to the point as a district where we have been given formal notification by Rotary International that they have some concerns about our continued viability, our continued productivity as a district. And so we've been told that we need to come up with a plan for the next 2 to 4 years or so to improve our membership numbers. And we have come up with that plan. We have forwarded that to Rotary International. Eric Deneau, past District Governor Eric Deneau, and past District Governor Jamie Milne are the folks who crafted that plan along with the District Governor track. So we're confident that we can raise our numbers and we will continue to be a district. But there are some initiatives and things that we need to do to make that happen. And one of them is using social media effectively. So one of the things that we're offering through this district social media initiative to clubs is to give them some training. And as part of that, we have asked the clubs to appoint a social media point person for their club, each club to appoint one person who then can attend a district social media training on Zoom for their club. Courtney Jarecki, who is the person who is spearheading this district social media initiative, she's the consultant that we hired. She did an audit of all 40 clubs in the district before she began her task. And what she found was those districts that had Facebook or Instagram or website or any sort of social media presence, she made sure that she was aware of what they were doing, how well they're doing it, how much engagement they're having with their community and with the world out there. And so she's coming equipped to these trainings with these clubs with individual understanding of their clubs and their social media progress to date. We've divided up the district into 3 groups of clubs, and we're going to be providing, and I've already given the dates to the clubs and named the clubs in those groups. We're going to be providing one hour Zoom training for each of those clubs in that group, their particular social media point person. And Courtney will, because of the audit that she did, she'll be able to direct the training to those specific 13 or 14 clubs in that group on the evening that they're being trained or the afternoon. So the trainings, I just wanted to make you aware of this. The trainings are happening on September 13th and 16th, as well as October 20th. There's a few different times. We are not able to switch clubs who, you know, if a point person from their club can't make it, we're not going to be able to really rearrange those. So we are going to be taping each of those. And if a club has missed that social media training, they can view it on YouTube. There's also going to be a follow-up training, a check-in on January 11th, 2023 for all of the clubs at 7 o'clock at night, again by Zoom. And the purpose of that is to give the clubs a little bit of time to experiment, to try to make some progress and to try to use some of the tools and training that Courtney will give them on their social media initiative. And then we'll check in January to see how they're doing, to see if they have any challenges or questions. and Courtney will do a fresh audit to see what sort of progress we have made as a district. So again, the purpose of this, to be very clear, is to connect with individuals in our communities and around our communities that we've not been able to really reach through our more traditional approach to promoting Rotary. We know that we need to lend diversity and inclusion in our clubs, and part of the way to do that is to reach those individuals and organizations that we simply haven't connected with in the past. So this is one way of doing that. Also, we'll be hopefully announcing soon social media grants. These are funds that are in reserve, and we're hoping to be able to make those funds available back to the clubs from which those funds derive. And I'm not sure exactly what amount those grants will be in, but the idea is that the Public Image Committee will make available grants to each individual club if they would like to work with Courtney a little more closely to design and help them promote their social media. And so we will be coming up with a application for those social media grants, with a way to process those grants and a way to verify and monitor the use of the grants. So that is another initiative that we are working on, and I'm hoping by the end of September, if not sooner, I'll have that grant process in place and we can announce those to the clubs. The next district update that I want to share with you is something else that we're doing on social media. We'd like to do a social media club feature every so often in the district of our 40 clubs. And I asked the clubs and I sent them this slide, and I asked them to share with us answers to these questions. So we wanted to know the number of members in their club. We wanted to know their special power. So if their special power is engaging youth, or their special power is promoting the environment, whatever that special power may be of a particular club, we want that to be shared. And then we'd like to see their link to their Facebook account or their website, what they do in general, a little bit about that club and who they serve. So the idea is to really have a nice, succinct slide that we can share, or social media post that we can share on social media for each club. And again, I'm mentioning this to you because as assistant district governors, when you're visiting your clubs, I'd love for you to check in with your club presidents to see if they have provided me with the information that's been requested, because we want to make sure we're able to feature every single club and promote them through our social media. And this is one way that we've devised of doing that. Second to last district update for you folks is that we're also embarking on a district photo project. The idea of this is to make sure that we have a really good stock of photos of our district clubs engaged in impactful projects. So those projects that really show them hands-on doing things to impact our community and our world. And so what I'm asking is that each club provide to me just one service project or impactful fundraiser. Share a visual with me, share the title, the description, the date, the time, and the location. And I'm looking for projects or fundraisers that are coming up this fall. And then we are going to be promoting those by sending a photographer to those projects or fundraisers that have been chosen. So we'll probably choose 10 to 12 maybe in the district. And then we'll send a professional photographer there who can really capture some beautiful, engaging visuals of our district Rotary members impacting their communities and the world around them. And the idea again is so we have these images that we can continue to use for social media to boost engagement with our communities through social media and potentially other forms of promotion as well. And then finally, just want to announce to you folks, and you can share this with your clubs, we are going to have an in-person district conference this year for the first time, I think, in 3 years. Super exciting. We put a deposit down on JPEAK 3 years ago. That was during Richard Fox's district governor year. He wasn't able to use it. We weren't able to use it. And so we have conserved that deposit with JPEAK, and they're allowing us to use that deposit. And so we will be having a district conference this year in person at JPEAK from Friday, April 28th through Sunday, April 30th. And the reason we're doing it at the end of April instead of the first weekend in May is because the district has found in the past that because of Green Up Day in May, which is always the first Saturday in May, there have been some conflicts with people being able to attend. So we want to make sure we maximize attendance for everyone. And so we are going to be having that district conference. So we'll get more promotional materials out there as things fill in terms of the agenda and the programs, but please feel free to just start to mention that to your clubs. And one theme for this year's district conference is going to be storytelling. One of the things that we need to do more of in this district is to tell our story of impact. And so we want to be we're going to be using that as a theme throughout the district conference and providing some resources and some professional assistance to our club folks and those attendees about storytelling and how to tell your Rotary story. So those are the district updates. And I'll just briefly break there and ask if there are any questions about that. I've put the screen on a little. Any questions or thoughts about that so far?
When are we going to be, the club's going to be finding out the dates for the trainings?
They've already, good question, Jason. They've already been sent those, so they're aware of them already. So the presidents have been sent those, and hopefully they're in the process or have already appointed their point person. And one of the things I mentioned to them, Jason, and the rest of you, is that it doesn't have to be a social media guru who is the point person. It can be someone who's simply open and willing to learn a little bit about social media, and someone who can move the club a little bit from at least, wherever they are starting point to maybe a little beyond the starting point. So we're just trying to move, the dial a little bit forward. We're not looking for a miracle here, just for a little engagement and a little more use of social media by our clubs all around the district.
If we have time, are we able to join those meetings as well?
Absolutely. You're welcome to join them. I can send those links to you with your clubs if you like. I'm certainly happy to send them to you, Dave. Great question. So yes, you will be entitled. And some clubs have already asked if they could have a couple people attend, because I think they've gotten some interest from a few people to have a little bit of a deeper bench. And so I've said, of course, you can have a couple people attend as well.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, John. Good to see you. All right, so let me get into, I did want to, for this first meeting, just kind of talk a little bit about assistant district governor duties and responsibilities. And Jason is shown there. Jason's been doing his sock tour of his clubs. So he's been sending me some great photos. And Jason, I couldn't resist putting this out there as one of our photos. So thank you for those pictures. When I became an assistant district governor a few years ago now, I was asked by Eric Deneau at the time to be an assistant district governor, and I was excited to participate in a more leadership role at the district level with Rotary. I'd just come off of my presidential year, so that was kind of interest to me to continue to grow. But it kind of, so I was sort of told, well, you should visit your clubs, but I really never was trained or really understood what it fully meant to be an assistant district governor. And I think sorry?
Thank you. No, I feel the same. All right.
And I think that our district has fallen down a little bit in terms of making sure that our assistant district governors understand what their role is and how important their role is and the scope of their duties and responsibilities. So I wanted to do just a brief kind of primer here tonight as to what the district and myself as your district governor are looking for from you, because you are so incredibly important to our district and important to the success of our clubs. And so I thought I would just go through those, and then of course we'll have time after I've summarized those, certainly, to talk about them and get your impressions and thoughts. So let me start with talking about the duties. And the duties that I've shared here on the screen are pretty clear-cut in many ways, but I just want to again make sure that you all are on the same page and that we're on the same page as to what those duties are. So number one, the primary overarching duty for an assistant district governor is to support your clubs, the district, and the district governor, in that order. So the clubs come first. Our Rotarians come first. Jennifer Jones, the current president of Rotary International, talks about the care and comfort of our Rotarians, and your job in part is to focus on the care and comfort of those Rotarians. So support the clubs, the district, and the DG in that order. You're also, one of your duties is to visit your clubs at least once a quarter. So at least once every 3 months or so, visit each of your clubs. And please, I'm begging you this, and I love, Jason, that you've done this already. When you visit those clubs, please provide me with just a quick update as to what your visit was like, how you perceived the club to be doing. And I'd love a photo or two. If you can share a fun photo or two of your visit to the club, I would love that, because that's additional information and visual content, engaging content that we can put on our social media for the district. So please, please share those updates with me. And then when you visit your clubs, part of your role is to provide resources and updates from the district. So when we have these monthly meetings, we'll talk about the district updates, as I did just a few seconds ago. And please take a few notes of those district updates, the conference coming up, the social media initiative. Take a few notes of those, and please, as you go to your clubs, share those updates from the district. You are the point of communication and liaison between the DG and the district to the clubs in part. So really important that you kind of share those updates with the district, and then provide resources. You may find that, the district, one club is looking for some information on the foundation. I'm always available to you if you're looking for resources, but you of course can always Google whatever resource you're looking for from Rotary International. And 9 times out of 10, that resource will pop right up. And then you can download a PDF or a visual or whatever it is they're looking for and share that with them. Also, an AG provides support to the clubs when they have a question, concern, or a challenge. So this has happened in the past where an AG might be engaged in a dialogue with a club president, and the club president speaks about some challenge they're having in their club. Maybe there's a club member who is creating some tension in the club or something like that, just as an example. And so that's an example where they might turn to you first as an assistant district governor if they have a good, trusting relationship with you to maybe help them with that challenge. Now, I, as DG, get a lot of emails from folks when they have challenges. So far, I've learned that being DG for a month, 3 quarters at this point. But you folks also can be available and should be available to the clubs, and if they have challenges, concerns, or questions. So that is something that if you establish that good relationship with them, I'm sure they'll turn to you and with those questions. And then if you can't answer the question, of course, feel free to pass it on to me, and I'll get you what you need. Another duty of the AG is to promote cross-club collaboration. So as we all know, a lot of our clubs don't have the size, the number of members that they used to have. And so one way in which these clubs can sometimes assist one another in creating projects, in creating impact in their area, is to collaborate across clubs. And that's something that you can promote as well. If you visit one club and they're doing a cool project related to child and maternal health, you could share that with the next club you visit, and perhaps they might want to get in on that and also participate in that particular impactful project. And Kelly, you said you have a question. I'm sorry if I didn't catch it soon enough, but go ahead and ask your question.
The question was visiting clubs once a quarter.
Yes.
And I've tried visiting a couple clubs already.
Okay.
And 2 out of the 4 clubs are not ready for an AG visitor yet. One doesn't have a president yet.
Okay.
And one they're still meeting with their former president to get ready. So I'm just want to make sure that it doesn't have to be like quarterly. Maybe I'll have 2 visits in the second quarter. Or are you flexible with that, or
Yeah.
or and also can I schedule, and would it count if I had all 4 presidents meet at one location? Would that count?
No, Kelly. And the reason for that is you're really intended to be a presence to the club members themselves, not just the club president. So the idea is for them to know who you are. And partly that's because you're going to see that as we go along, one of your responsibilities is going to be to identify those folks who might really want to participate or be valuable to participate at the district level. And so getting to know the club members in each club is also something that is a really great opportunity for AGs and for the district to kind of identify talent. In terms, Kelly, of your first question, just want to say that a club shouldn't need to be ready for an AG visit. The AG should come and visit in whatever place the club is. If the club hasn't yet identified a president, but yet is able to meet or do a service project, then absolutely, any club that is functioning, regardless in the how effectively they're functioning or whether they've got a clear chain of command in place, they're ready for an AG visit. The AG does not just provide a resource or a connection to the club president. I want to be very clear about that. It's to all of the Rotarians in that club and the club as a whole. So Kelly, I would sort of put maybe I'd put a little bit more pressure on those clubs and say, hey, you don't need to be ready for me. I want to join no matter what shape you're in, and maybe I can provide some resources or some ideas or some support. And that's actually a moment when maybe the clubs need the AGs and your presence more than ever if they're having trouble, identifying a president or still have a president from the prior year. So I would maybe argue that might be, they need you even more if they're in that situation than maybe if they've got everything, all tip top. So that's kind of my answers to your questions, Kelly. One duty that the AG also has is to assist presidents-elect in establishing goals, entering goals, and creating committees in Club Runner. So I was talking about the AG supporting the entire club, which is true, but you also should begin to connect with the presidents-elect for the various clubs and make sure that they're beginning to think about their goals. And this may not be something that you do in August, but it may be something you start to do in October or November. Starting in November, we're going to have in-person trainings again, and some of those trainings will be for presidents-elect, for those clubs that have identified presidents-elect. So they'll start to become trained. They'll be starting to look at establishing their goals for the following year. And one of the things we know is that, as with any organization, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, to the extent that you can establish goals and identify those goals and establish those goals, you're in a much better position to actually achieve those goals. So that is something that the AGs can do as well. So when you visit your clubs, see if you can identify the president-elect, the person who's been identified, and make sure you get to know them a little bit. And then if clubs haven't been in a situation where they can identify a president-elect, maybe you can provide them with encouragement to do so as soon as possible. And then finally, another duty of the AG is to promote attendance at district conference, training, and other events. So I mentioned to you today, one of the updates I gave you was the fact that we're having a district conference on April 28th and 30th and 23. Start to talk about that a little bit. We don't have any visuals to give you right now or promotional materials, but it'd be great if you'd start to put that in people's minds when you go to visit. And certainly there will be a November training. I know that Susan Cherry, who is our district governor-elect this year, she has not, I don't think, yet identified the dates. But if she hasn't, she will be doing that soon, and she'll begin to build that curriculum. So I can share that with you at the next month's meeting, and you can start to let clubs know that attending the training events will be a great opportunity to get together with other Rotarians in our district and also really get some great education and resources from our district. So those are kind of the duties of an AG. And I wanted again to make sure, and Kelly, I appreciate your questions because those suggested to me that maybe we weren't all on the same page necessarily. So I think it's great that you asked that question. This way, I think we now all perhaps have defined kind of what those duties are. Before I move on to responsibilities, and I'll be able to see your faces now, I'll put it on a screen. Does anyone else have any questions about the duties as I've outlined them of an AG? Oh, Maureen, yeah.
Would there be continued AG training at president-elect training at PETS?
I'm not sure, Maureen. I mean, as you know, we did try to put that in a meaningful way in our presidents-elect training, our Northeast PET presidents-elect training this past March. That was something that we really focused on. I'm hoping that the group will continue with that emphasis. But as Maureen knows, and maybe others might know or might not know, each year the presidents-elect training is created and planned and executed by the governors-elect. So Susan Cherry, for example, is going to be in the group that creates presidents-elect training for March of 23, not me. Even though I am in the group loosely, and I certainly can provide input. They're the ones who define their goals. So I will certainly encourage them. Maureen, was that a good initiative from your perspective?
For my first year, yes, especially the first year when we were in person, and went to Foxborough and went through a couple of days, it was helpful because I really didn't feel like I knew what I was getting into. And it was very specific, hands-on training and classes.
Good, that's great. Well, I will put a bug in their ear. I can tell you that NEPETS right now, Northeast President-Select Training, is intended to be in person. They have reserved I think it's a Marriott, I think, in Newton, Massachusetts, I believe. It's near Boston, I
Yeah.
guess. So
Yeah.
that's where it's going to be. So that is happening, and it will be in person, barring any other further developments on the disease front. It should be in person. And so that's something else that you can mention to folks to get the president-elect a bit more excited. Say, you'll be in person this year. And hopefully for you AGs, they'll have some training. And I will definitely put a bug in their ear, Maureen. Thank you for that comment.
Just a thought, because it helped before I started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Any other thoughts or questions about the duties before I move on to responsibilities?
I had a
Excellent.
Do we know
question
when?
about,
Go ahead. Sorry. I had Jason and Claude, I think, maybe, or Dave. I'm not sure who spoke. Dave, what do we have from you?
When is PETS going to be?
Oh, boy. Maureen, do you remember the dates? I honestly don't remember them. Let me look at
Usually the first weekend in March, isn't it?
Yeah, let me see if I have it in here yet. I might. Yes, I do have it in here. It's a miracle. So it is going to be March 9th through the 11th. I think they finish on a Saturday usually. So March 9th through 11th, that's a Thursday through a Friday, Dave. And now it may be just a Friday, Saturday, Dave. So don't hold me to that. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to be developing the curriculum. I know one of the things that they focused on is trying to make it perhaps a little shorter and more condensed so that people don't have to spend as much time away from family and work. So, but that's generally the time frame. Great. Okay. Whoops. I think I went the other way. Okay. So was there any other question before I move on?
I'm not sure if this is really a duty, but I was just kind of curious, will all of the AG meetings with you be via Zoom, or are they going to be in person ever?
So right now, that's actually, Jason, that's a great question. I think we're going to get to that in one of the slides because I want to talk about sort of the format and the content of these meetings. So if you all have some other idea, I want to hear it and we can talk about it. So we'll definitely speak to that later in the meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So let me then, I'm gonna not see your faces anymore, unfortunately. So shout out or put something in the chat if you want to speak to something else, and let me move on. All right. So AG responsibilities. So we talked about the duties, and there are a set of responsibilities that you have. One of them is to attend district meetings. So again, where we have these district training meetings in November, where we have a district conference that has a district meeting, I would love to have you folks attend those. You offer, again, further, perspective on the district. You offer further resources on the district, and those meetings generally will provide you with additional education and resources about the district. So I think you will benefit and find that you benefit from those meetings. So anything that you can do to attend those meetings and create a greater connection with you in the district is really encouraged and would be wonderful. And as I mentioned earlier in response to Kelly's question, identify and assist in developing future district leaders. Now I'm going to be very direct with all of you. All of you should be considering, you may decline, but you should be considering in what way you perhaps can contribute to the district in another role after you've been AG for a year or two or three. Some of you may be interested down the road, sooner or later, in being a district governor and exploring that opportunity. It's an extraordinary leadership opportunity and training opportunity and vision opportunity. So some of you may be interested in that. And so we'd love you to identify yourselves if you're interested in that kind of a role, but also to keep an eye out for those individuals in your clubs who might lend their talents and passion to the district. So whether it's somebody who's so passionate about membership and comes up with great ideas meeting after meeting, and might be somebody who would want to serve on the district membership committee, whether it's a club president who might want to be an assistant district governor in a year or two, or after they finish their term this year. Those are the kinds of people I'd love for you to be keeping an eye out for, and have conversations with them, encourage them. And then let me know if I need to do something to connect with them or encourage them, because the broader base, as you know, of talent that we have to choose from for the district, the stronger our district will be. And that is something that also is part of the initiative for this year, is developing a greater infrastructure for the district. So, so please kind of keep your eyes and ears open for that talent and that passion. We'd love to capture that at the district level. And also, I would love for you folks to be involved and be in attendance if possible when I do a DG visit to a club that's in your area. So to the extent that you can encourage clubs to make sure that they've carved out time for me to do my presentation to their club, to make sure that they understand kind of the protocol of a DG visiting a club, which means that you try to encourage as many members to attend as possible. Maybe they announce it on their social media. I've given all the clubs that I'm visiting my picture ahead of time and a little blurb about me so they can post it on social media or on their website. It's a great opportunity for them to encourage visitors to the clubs, people who might be interested in joining a club or be interested in Rotary. When a district governor speaks, they speak at a higher level of knowledge, usually because of their experience in Rotary in the district. So it's a great opportunity for people who don't know a lot about Rotary to kind of get a glimpse of that bigger vision and that bigger impact of Rotary. So again, your job in part is your responsibility in part is to coordinate those visits with the clubs. We'd also love for you to encourage foundation support. As you all know, the foundation is the arm of Rotary that allows us to do projects both locally and internationally. And the donations that are made to the foundation support, in part, the projects that we have here at the district level and beyond. Then there is a complex formula that I won't get into because I'm not an expert on it, but essentially, you know, donations, as I understand it, that are given to the foundation this year would come back to the district in 3 years, a portion of them, so that we can use those for district grants and other grants. So always a great idea to encourage that foundation giving. And then finally, again, assist me or whoever is in the district governor chair in monitoring the viability or vibrancy of clubs. And Kelly, there's another shout out to you for asking that question. You know, I'm learning from you now that there's two clubs that appear to be having trouble with developing leaders. So that's something that would be great to bring to my attention so that I can maybe speak to that when I visit those clubs. And tailor my presentation maybe a little bit more toward that issue. Although frankly, most of my presentation is tailored to that issue, but just let me know if you find a club is really doing great. I'd love to hear about it. And if they have a new idea and something they've done that really is creating, you know, great additional membership leaps and bounds growth, or I'd love to hear about it. And if on the other hand, you have a club that is, you know, having some challenges, share that with me too, because I can maybe tailor some resources toward them. So those are kind of the responsibilities as I perceive it and the district perceives it of an assistant district governor. And I'm going to pause here and ask if anyone has any questions about that. Okay, so pretty straightforward. It sounds like we're hopefully all on the same page on that one. All right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Lancaster is going to be contacting you because the week that you had selected is actually Columbus Day week, and we don't meet on holiday weeks.
Okay. Okay.
So
okay, Dave. I'll take
should be reaching out.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Great. Okay, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. So now we get to kind of where I'll throw it open, and I'm gonna take us off. I'm gonna take my screen off, stop share now, so that we can talk all facing each other. But the point of this section is, what do you want from the meetings? And this kind of goes back to what Jason was talking about. I want to make sure that you find these meetings useful. I'm an incredibly busy person. I know that all of you are incredibly busy as well. And I don't want to waste one moment of your time. So what I want to do is provide you with meetings, these AG meetings that truly help you and inspire you and make you want to come back next month. That's my goal. So what in both content, format, in-person, Zoom, what are you folks looking for? What would you like to see in these meetings? I'm going to throw it open now to your comments, and I'm going to take notes. So please start sharing with me. What are your thoughts? Yes, John.
Carly, I think the idea of the Zoom is a good one, because it would be very hard for all of us to get together at a particular place. The other is, I think my understanding of my role is to be here for whatever you need, done during your, your year of service here. So I approach this as all ears, and whatever you need, I will try to, accomplish for you.
Okay, and I really appreciate that, John. I do want to mention though that the first slide where I kind of said that your role is to provide support and resources to the clubs, the district, and the DG in that order. I'm at the last, you'll notice, in that order. So I want to make sure that you really understand that the clubs are where it's at. The clubs. I mean, I love that you're supporting me and that you want to help where I need assistance. I really do appreciate that very much. That's critical from my perspective. But I really want to make sure that our clubs are seeing you folks as the resource, the primary immediate resource. The relationships that you all develop with those club members is critical to really establishing their comfort level in saying, hey, John, I'm having trouble with membership. Do you have any ideas for me? Picking up the phone and calling you or emailing you. And then feel free to turn to me if you want me to share some resources or ideas, or I can direct you to Eric Deneau or Jamie, membership committee, whatever the topic might be. But developing that relationship is so important to making sure that the club presidents and the clubs feel like they're not on an island floating alone, but that they have a network out there that supports them. And that network starts with you. So just, you've given me an opportunity to emphasize that point. I really appreciate it. And I really do appreciate your willingness to keep your ears open for me and support me. That's really, really nice. Thank you. Any other questions or comments or thoughts about the content, the format of the meetings, et cetera? Kelly?
I know that we are in a little bit of danger with the RI and membership and everything. But in order for us, I feel, and I'm sure you guys will all agree, in order for us to get new members, we need to know about Rotary, and we need to educate our members about Rotary. So if somebody says, what is Rotary about? I want to make sure that all of our members know they can answer it right away, or they can touch upon some subjects that are really exciting about Rotary, because it's a multifaceted organization. And so I guess what I'm saying is maybe we as ADGs can kind of brainstorm some ideas on which that we can make Rotary a little bit more enticing, exciting, or something like that. I mean, we can tell them the facts, but then what is the sparkle that gets them? What is that hook that can bring them in?
Yeah. So I love that point, and I'm going to share with you something that happened at my most recent club visit, and Jason was there. I had invited 3 of my colleagues. I'm president of a business group, a local business group, and I invited 3 of my colleagues from that business group to join me at the Mad River Valley Rotary DG visit that I had last week. And it was so fascinating. I talked with those folks afterwards, and they don't know Rotary. They one of them had been a Rotarian, and he actually left pretty soon after the meeting concluded. But the 2 younger professionals who were there had never been to Rotary really before. They didn't know much about it. They heard my DG presentation, so they kind of got sort of a little bit of an understanding. But they really took some time with me afterwards and talked to me about the meeting, and it was a great meeting. But they asked 2 questions, which were fantastic and were so informative. Like, it's why we should always have visitors at our Rotary meetings. One of them said to me, Caroline, because in answering a question, I talked about the 7 areas of focus. We have 5 avenues of service and 7 areas of focus, right, in Rotary. And he said to me, Caroline, he said, you talked about 7 areas of focus. He said, if you have 7 areas of focus, don't you really not have a focus? Like he said, doesn't that kind of contradict the notion of a focus? And I thought that was such an interesting question. I mean, have we in fact spread out, like, Kelly, your question is when someone asks you, what is Rotary? Do you have a simple answer? Is there a sparkle answer that you can give them? Or do you have to start explaining there's 5 avenues of service and 7 areas of focus, and those include blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you that their attention span ends in about 0.2 seconds. So I thought that was such a great question. And I'm not giving you an answer, unfortunately, to that question today, but I thought that was really telling. The other comment that one of the other guys made, which was, I thought, so perceptive, so like innocent eyes looking in, not having experience. Mad River Valley Rotary is an amazing club in terms of the resources that they are able to mobilize. I mean, they raise money like nobody's business. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they have a community. As one of the folks said, we have a community that if you ask them to open their purse strings, you basically just get like, thrown money at you. I mean, they want to contribute, they have that impulse. But what was fascinating was, this guy said to me afterwards when we were talking, he said, I heard a lot about how they're raising money. And it was like, we raise so much money here, we raise so much money there, we raise so much money. But he said, what I didn't hear about is, what do you do with all that money? He said, what's the impact of that money? I didn't hear anything about that. What he didn't hear, Kelly, was a story, right? He didn't hear a story. And when I'm talking about story, and that goes to both your points, when I'm talking about storytelling in Rotary, I'm talking about the impact that we have. And that is something that Rotary International has really tried to get across to Rotarians the last few years. And I think that's why certainly I am going to try to make storytelling part of our theme at our district conference, because we need to do a better job of telling our story, as you said, Kelly, in a way that sparkles. I love that word, a way that sparkles, and in a way that is simple and easy to grasp. Evan, and I'm forgetting his last name, someone shouted out if you remember, but the guy from Australia who's Evan so-and-so from Australia, he's a guy that, right, you're nodding your heads, you know what I'm talking about. The way he says it is, he says, Rotary, he says, we do good, that's what we do. Rotary, we do good, that's what we do. Now, that's great, but it's very general, right? Like, to me, it's kind of general, like, how is that going to inspire Jane Doe over here who loves, the environment? How is that going to inspire her to get involved in Rotary particularly? I mean, maybe she's just a nice person and she wants to generally do good, and so she'll be attracted to it. But that's kind of the challenge we have. It's one of the reasons that our social media campaign and initiative is starting and is going to be continuing over this year, because we're trying to put the sparkle out there. We're trying to spread all the confetti and all the sparkles and all that stuff out there. And we're trying to attract some attention, right? Over here, because there's so many people vying for attention from everyone in the world and everyone in our communities. How do we get them involved and engaged? And so that's one thing that we're doing. But your point's really well taken. And I'm happy to hear from others who have some ideas. And I want to make sure we get to I want to make sure, I mean, that's a bigger conversation, Kelly, but I do want to make sure that I think that's a content question. So I'm hearing from you that maybe that is something we tackle at another meeting by way of content, perhaps. So let me put that on the list for content. I'm going to say how to make Rotary sparkle. That's what I'm going to say for that topic, how to make Rotary sparkle. I like that. So let me just put a footnote in that for now, like a bookmark, and that's kind of a content discussion we'll have. Anyone else have any comments about the format, or like Kelly about some of the content that we want to have in upcoming meetings? Any ideas about format? I know, Jason, you asked about, are we always going to, are we going to be meeting by Zoom? Do you want to meet in person? Is that something that you'd like to do at some point during the year? What are your thoughts on that, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, it might be nice to just meet everybody in person a couple times a year, but it doesn't have to be each meeting.
Yeah.
But at points, yeah.
Yeah, I think that we can definitely try to, what we could do is try to incorporate an AG meeting when we have district events that are happening in person, so that if there are a majority of AGs coming to those events anyways, we can have an AG meeting and schedule that in for that time. So the November training might be an opportunity to do that. Rather than have an AG meeting, we go to November training and all meet there and get to know each other in person, which would be lovely.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, so let's look at that. Let's look at how we can coincide some of those in-person events with meetings.
Yeah, and I was wondering if we could also somehow come up with like a 7850 like cheat sheet of like rather than always sending you an email about like something that we could go to, like one of the other membership people or somebody's doing foundation. I realize you're extremely good at responding, but if you weren't having to field so many emails, that we could go directly to another person, a
Yes,
leader that's dealing with one of these. So
right.
maybe that's all on the website. Then I just need to go on the website more often, but
No, I think that's a good point. And actually, I will tell you that you raise a really good point, because we are having some challenges with a few of our areas in the district in getting people to respond to inquiries from Rotarians and club presidents and folks. So what I will do is, Jason, I will create that cheat sheet. I'll send it out to all of you. And that will be basically a sheet that indicates who the chairs are of the various committees and who you can contact. I'm going to confess to you right now that part of my goal for building up the infrastructure is to make sure that we have people who aren't so busy and burned out and have to field one person fielding every single call about this topic in the district, that they can't answer them timely, because that is a bugaboo of mine. I try to be very responsive generally to people, because it's important. When it's important, people reach out to you and they want an answer kind of soon. But I'm sort of a fanatic about that, and not everybody has that level of, of fanaticism about responding quickly. So, and understandably, they're all very busy. I mean, I'm not gonna, and my job is to respond because I am the DG and I took that on, proudly as that job. So I will get that cheat sheet put together. I will send it out to you. I can't guarantee that the folks on the sheet, as great as they are at knowing what they know about Rotary and doing their job at the district level, I can't guarantee everyone will be equally responsive. So Jason, as long as you promise to ask me second, if you ask them first and they don't get back to you, forward the question to me, okay? Because I don't want you guys to be stuck without an answer, and I will then try to get an answer for you. That's the deal. I'll strike with you if that's okay, while I'm working on building up the infrastructure so that we have a deeper bench and more resources, so that people aren't overwhelmed and can sort of divide up tasks. That's what I'll do. I thank you. That's great.
yeah.
In terms of the content of, the format that I took today was essentially, we start off with an agenda. I present some district updates. We get into some other piece of content. Maybe it's how to make Rotary sparkle. That's kind of like maybe a little bit of educational resource content for 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And then we would go into the general discussion, questions, brainstorming, that kind of open mic. Does that sound generally like a good format for these meetings? How do people feel about that? Okay.
Good.
Okay, great.
Good.
Okay, good. All right. So for the time being, I will continue with that format. At any time, I have no problem with switching it up, changing it completely, turning it upside down. I don't care. All I care about is that you guys are enjoying the meetings and you're getting what you want. So please, feel free to email me separately or during the meeting open mic. I take no ownership of any of this, other than that I want to do well by you guys. So let me know if at some point it stops working. Tell me. Just say it's not working anymore, Caroline. We need something different, and then we can do something different. I just want to be real clear about that. Anything else that anyone wants to talk about? I think we've got the content and the format down. I think I'm going to try our next content to be how to make Rotary sparkle. Kelly, I'm going to try to I also, by the way, will try to bring in some guest speakers when I can to speak to these topics from our zone or from Rotary International, because they're far better at this stuff than I am. So I'm not the expert on everything. So definitely. So I will bring in the experts when needed. So that'll be our next content. Kelly, thank you for the idea. Any other thoughts, brainstorming challenges, anything anyone wants to talk about? This is our time. Kellyanne, you've been very quiet. I haven't heard your lovely voice. So I'm hoping everything's good with you.
Absolutely. I think this is a great format. I love the idea of starting, with the district updates. Those are really helpful for each of us to be able to bring back to our clubs, and then giving each of us a little free time at the end to connect with each other is really nice too. So
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Kellyanne. I appreciate it. Cloud, anything from you one thing I'm incredibly sensitive to and trying to figure out how best to approach it is the Quebec clubs, and just making you folks feel involved, making you feel included, making sure that we are doing what we need to do. to support the Quebec clubs. And I'm feeling, definitely less sort of, I have, fewer ideas maybe about that. So I'd love to hear from you and any thoughts right now that you have about anything regarding the district or your AG role.
It's hard work to please the Quebec Rotarian.
Yes.
Bec-
Yes.
But there's something I've noticed that when we have our AG meeting, I don't mind if there's no French written because I really understand English well. So
Yeah.
don't really bother to write in French.
Okay. Okay.
When we're at the AG level like us, I don't mind because I understand English. And I'm
Okay.
the only one speaking French. So those people will try to read French and they're asking what's there. So don't
Okay.
bother.
Okay. I
I don't
appreciate
want you to have too much work for nothing.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Claude.
But I would like an Ukrainian.
Excellent. As long as you're not asking too much, Claude. That's I appreciate that. So any other thoughts? We have 1 minute to go, or we can sign off now. But again, it's been lovely talking to all of you. Dave, did you have anything?
I did manage to go down to Littleton Club. Unfortunately, the president wasn't there, but I'm going to try. I've got to figure out, I believe St. Johnsbury and COAS are both online, so I just got to get Zoom links from them. But
yeah, that is true. I frankly was surprised to hear that, Dave, from Jamie Milne the other day. I had not realized that there were still clubs online. And so that yeah.
well, they and St. Johnsbury is actually converting to an e-club.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Did not know that.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Berlin, the White Mountains Club is strictly Zoom.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess then I should cancel my overnight stay for the White Mountains visit then. Okay. So that's good for me to know. Yeah, if anyone does know of clubs that in your area that are strictly online, please let me know, because it does affect my travel arrangements. And I can definitely, modify those. So I'd be happy to hear about that. And that's actually a good content question too, is how do we handle online clubs, so. Well, listen, I told you I'd respect your time. I'm respecting it, and I'm going to finish now. But I want to thank you all very much for being here. I really appreciate all of your support and your role in district and supporting your club. So thank you very much. You are so valued. I really appreciate it. And I will see you, if not before, I will see you in a month.
Well, we'll see you in
Right.
3 weeks
Thank
because
you.
you'll be in Drummondville.
Yes. Reach out anytime, folks. Take
Okay.
care.
Have a nice
you.
Thanks.
evening, everybody.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.